Chosen one. Listen. The fact that you have never quite blended in is not a defect. It is the signature of heaven upon your life. Before you even breathed your first breath, the Father marked you. While others were born merely to exist, you were born to disrupt darkness, to carry light that cannot be hidden. You have walked into rooms and felt the air shift without understanding why. People have looked at you differently, sometimes with awe, sometimes with suspicion, because deep down their spirits sensed what their minds could not explain. You are not common. You may remember moments, even as a child, when you saw things differently, when your questions went deeper, when your silence carried more weight than their noise. You noticed the cracks in the walls no one else saw. You felt the pain in people's smiles, and when you tried to explain, they brushed you aside, labeling you strange, too intense, too serious for your age. But heaven knew what it was doing. This was not random. This was alignment with a calling older than time itself. I know you have wondered. Why me? Lord, why couldn't I just be normal? But chosen one. You were never designed for normal. You were crafted for holy difference. The very atmosphere rebels against you blending in, because your presence is meant to stand out like a torch in the night. This is why you feel the weight of being different. It's not rejection. It's recognition from the unseen realms. Scripture says in the Gospel of John, chapter 15, verse 19, if you belong to the world, it would love you as its own. As it is, you do not belong to the world, but I have chosen you out of the world. That is why the world hates you. These are not just ancient words, they are your biography. You have been called out, separated, set apart for a higher order. You see, heaven doesn't choose the crowd. It chooses individuals. And when you are chosen, you will always feel the friction between who you are and the systems around you. This is why your conversations sometimes feel like they're in a different language to the people near you. This is why your dreams are bigger than what anyone around you seems to understand. This is why you have been restless in places where others are satisfied. Chosen one. Your difference is not a curse. It is the compass pointing you toward your true assignment. The enemy's greatest hope is to make you doubt that difference, to convince you to bury it, to shame you into conformity. But God's greatest delight is to see you walk in it with boldness. The day you stop trying to fit in is the day you truly begin to step into your calling. I need you to realize this. Your life is being watched in the spirit. There are assignments against you, but there is also a host of heaven assigned to you. You carry a light that forces darkness to retreat. Some people don't dislike you because of who you are, but because of the atmosphere you bring that confronts what they've been trying to hide. That's why you must protect your identity fiercely. Stop apologizing for the way you are wired. Stop watering down your fire to make others comfortable. Stop trying to shrink, to fit into spaces God is calling you to outgrow. Every time you try to blend in, your soul feels restless because it's being suffocated. Beloved, you are not here by accident. You didn't even stumble across these words by coincidence. This is heaven's confirmation that the very things you thought disqualified you are the markers that prove you were chosen. The restlessness, the sensitivity, the hunger for something greater, these are the signs of your assignment. Now, I want you to hear this. You have a choice. You can either keep trying to earn a place at tables God never meant you to sit at, or you can stand in the authority of who you were always meant to be. One will drain you, the other will ignite you. One will make you fit in for a moment, the other will make you stand out for eternity. So today, step into agreement with heaven's verdict over your life. Lift your head, square your shoulders, and remember, you are not overlooked. You are handpicked. Every rejection was a redirection. Every closed door was an announcement. This one is mine. And when heaven claims you, the earth cannot erase you. If you can feel this truth stirring in your spirit, let it be known. Like this message, share it with someone who needs to remember they are chosen. And make sure you are subscribed so you never miss the words heaven is sending to keep you in alignment. And right now, type 777-inch the comments as your prophetic declaration. I am chosen, and I will not blend in. From the earliest days of your life, the signs were already there, though you did not have the language to name them. While others found joy in fitting neatly into the patterns of the world, you were the one asking questions that unsettled the room. You saw through the surface. You felt currents in the atmosphere that no one else seemed to notice. Teachers might have labeled you too sensitive or too distracted. But in truth, your spirit was already tuned to a higher frequency. You were not the loudest, yet your presence could not be ignored. People either gravitated toward you with curiosity or kept their distance, unsure of why they felt uncomfortable around you. You didn't understand it then, but now you can see that heaven's mark creates an invisible distinction, an unseen aura that makes you stand out even when you try to hide. As a child, you probably experienced moments that made you feel like an outsider. Birthday parties where you lingered at the edge of the crowd. School groups where you never quite felt like you belonged. Conversations where your thoughts seemed to come from another world. And while others could laugh things off easily, you carried emotions deeply. That was not weakness, it was spiritual sensitivity in its earliest form. There were also those strange coincidences you could never explain. You would dream something, and days later it would happen. You would feel uneasy about a situation, and then watch events unfold exactly as you sensed. People around you might have dismissed it, but those were the early whispers of the Spirit, sharpening your discernment. The truth is, the enemy noticed it too. The same light that draws angels also stirs resistance. From a young age, you may have faced ridicule, jealousy, or even betrayal from those you thought were friends. They could not understand why they felt threatened by you. But it was never about your personality, it was about your assignment. The forces of darkness try to dim the light before it matures into its full blaze. And yet, you kept going. You learned to adapt, to survive, sometimes by pretending to be normal just to avoid the stares. But deep down, you always knew. There was something in you that would not let you completely disappear into the crowd. Even when you tried to silence it, the calling inside you would stir. We find in the book of Psalms, chapter 139, verse 16, "Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be." Before you had a name, before you had a voice, before you had any understanding of who you were, heaven already had your life mapped out. That is why you could never truly lose yourself. The author of your story has never lost sight of you. This is why certain environments felt so wrong for you. You could be in a room full of people, laughing and enjoying themselves. yet something in your spirit felt out of place. You might have thought it was social anxiety or introversion, but often it was heaven whispering, "This is not your home. This is not your tribe." Every chosen one experiences a period when they try to decode this difference. You question yourself, is it arrogance to think I'm different? Am I imagining all of this? But then, life has a way of confirming it over and over again. Opportunities others run toward somehow don't work out for you. Paths others walk easily seem blocked for you, not because you're unworthy, but because those roads lead away from your destiny. This difference is not a wall meant to imprison you. It's a boundary meant to protect you. If you truly belonged in the places you tried to force yourself into, you would have found peace there. But instead, the discontent grew. That is the mercy of God. It keeps you from settling in the wrong land. Looking back, you can see it now. The awkward silences, the lonely moments, the misunderstood reactions, they were all part of a divine shaping process. The potter was molding you, even through discomfort, into a vessel capable of carrying something precious. And while the world saw misfit, heaven saw messenger. So, chosen one. Stop resenting the early signs. They were never meant to shame you. They were the proof of your appointment. And the same God who planted that difference in you is faithful to bring it to completion in His perfect time. You have been misunderstood more times than you can count. The people you tried to help sometimes turned against you. The ones you opened your heart to did not always value it. And perhaps the most painful moments were when you were accused of things that were never in your heart. Chosen one. This is not because you are cursed. It is because your spirit cannot be fully understood by those who do not walk in the light you carry. From the outside, it might look like you are just different, but in the spirit, you are a living disruption to the plans of darkness. The way you think, the way you perceive, the way you move through life, it challenges the comfort zones of people who would rather stay asleep. You speak truth, and it rattles their illusions. You carry peace, and it exposes the chaos they've learned to live with. You radiate light, and it reveals the shadows they've been hiding in. This is why you've faced suspicion from people who barely know you. Your presence alone can stir discomfort, not because of something wrong you've done, but because of the authority you carry without even trying. The world often attacks what it does not understand. And when you are chosen, misunderstanding becomes part of your training. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 20, verse 9. His word is in my heart like a fire shut up in my bones. I am weary of holding it in. Indeed, I cannot. And that fire is in you. 2. It's why you can't just stay silent when you see injustice. It's why you can't agree with something that is false, even if it costs you relationships. The fire is not optional. It is part of who you are. But here is what the enemy fears, that you will realize that being misunderstood is not a weakness, it is a weapon. Every false accusation, every rejection, every misinterpretation has been strengthening you. You've learned to stand firm when no one else defends you. You've learned to listen for heaven's voice above the noise of the crowd. You've learned to trust the one who sees your heart, even when others do not. The enemy's plan was to make you bitter through misunderstanding. God's plan was to make you unshakable through it. And chosen one, you are already walking in that unshakable place. Think about it. What used to break you now only bends you slightly before you rise again. What once made you question your worth now makes you declare it even louder. You are living proof that the fire inside cannot be put out by the storms outside. Still, I know the loneliness that can come with this path. You watch others move in easy harmony with the crowd, while your road seems to always be uphill. You wonder if anyone truly sees you. But let me remind you, heaven sees you. Every tear, every unspoken prayer, every time you chose to stay true instead of compromising, none of it has gone unnoticed. The very fact that you are still standing is a testimony. You have endured storms that others would not have survived. You have walked away from situations that could have destroyed you, not because you were stronger on your own, but because God was holding you even when you didn't feel it. And so today, I want you to anchor this truth deep in your spirit. Misunderstanding is not a sign that you are on the wrong path. It is often confirmation that you are exactly where God wants you to be. Right now, type "I hear you" in the comments. Not because these are my words, but because something inside you knows this is heaven speaking. When you write it, you are not just leaving a comment, you are making a declaration. You are telling God, I recognize your voice in this moment, and I choose to align myself with it. You are pushing back against every lie that told you your difference was a flaw. And you are agreeing with heaven's verdict over your life. Chosen one. Let the misunderstanding fuel your mission. Let the false accusations become the wind that pushes your sails toward your destiny. Remember, Jesus himself was misunderstood, and yet his mission was unstoppable. So is yours. The road ahead may still have seasons of being unseen, but they will not be wasted. Every hidden season is a preparation for the day. Your light must shine in places you never imagined. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are being prepared. And when the time comes, those who could not understand you will witness what heaven always knew about you. There is a weight you have carried that few around you have ever understood. It has followed you through every season of life, even when you tried to ignore it. This weight is not always visible in the natural. It is the invisible mantle of responsibility that comes with being chosen. From the outside, people may have seen your strength, but they have not seen the cost. You have smiled while carrying battles in your heart. You have shown up for others when you had nothing left to give. You have stood in the gap for people who may never even know the prayers you prayed for them. And while others were free to live without much thought for tomorrow, you felt the constant pull to be alert, to be aware, to be ready. The truth is, this weight was not given to crush you, it was given to shape you. The trials you faced were not random. They were preparation. Every hard season became a training ground. The nights you cried alone taught you to find comfort in God's presence. The times you had no answer taught you to trust His timing. The moments you felt completely drained taught you how to rely on His strength instead of your own. This is why, even when you felt like you couldn't go on, something in you kept moving forward. You have been carried more times than you realize. You thought you were surviving on sheer will. But in truth, it was grace holding you up. And while the weight has been heavy, it has also been holy. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For you are with me, your rod and your staff. They comfort me. These words from the book of Psalms, chapter 23, verse 4, are more than poetry to you. They are lived experience. You have walked valleys so deep that no one could follow you into them. Yet you emerged. And you did not emerge the same. you emerged wiser, stronger, and more anchored in who you are. People who have not carried such a weight will never fully understand the discipline it has built in you. They don't see that your endurance is not accidental, it is forged. While they may have been able to step away when things got difficult, you learned to stand your ground. That resilience is not just a personality trait, it is a mark of divine training. But here is something you need to know. The weight you carry is also a key. It grants you authority in areas where others have no voice. You can speak into pain because you have walked through it. You can bring comfort because you have needed it yourself. You can lead people through storms because you know what it feels like to be in one. This is why the enemy has tried to make you resent your load. He knows that if you begin to see it for what it truly is, you will stop resisting it and start wielding it. You will begin to walk with the understanding that this mantle is not a curse but a crown. Still, there have been moments when the weight felt too much. Times when you asked God, "Why me? Why do I always have to be the strong one? Why do I have to carry what others lay down?" And in those moments, even without a clear answer, He has been shaping your heart to understand the bigger picture that your life is not just about survival. It is about service. Being chosen means you are entrusted with more because you can be trusted with more. Not because you are perfect, but because your surrender allows God to do what others would resist. Every burden you've carried has been an investment into the impact you will have. And though you have been misunderstood in this journey, heaven has seen every sacrifice, the prayers whispered in exhaustion, the times you gave when you had little for yourself, the days you kept walking when your strength was gone. None of it is wasted. None of it is forgotten. So, chosen one, keep walking under the mantle that was designed for you. The weight may not lift completely, but it will feel different as you grow into it. It will no longer feel like a burden you must escape, but a trust you are honored to carry. And in the days ahead, you will begin to see how every ounce of that weight has been preparing you for the very thing you were born to do. Some of your greatest battles have never been visible to the world. They weren't fought in front of crowds, but in the hidden places late at night when no one was watching. In the quiet moments when the noise of the day had faded. These battles were not against flesh and blood, but against the invisible forces that sought to drain your strength, steal your joy, and silence your voice. There were nights when your thoughts became a battlefield, where fear, doubt, and discouragement all tried to take the upper hand. The enemy whispered lies telling you that you weren't enough, that you were too broken, that your future had no hope. But time and time again, even in your weakest state, you stood back up. You may not have realized it in the moment, but heaven was keeping count of every time you refused to quit. This is the reality of being chosen. Your training often happens in the shadows. Before David ever faced Goliath in public, he faced lions and bears in the wilderness. You, too, have faced enemies that no one else saw. And it is those victories, those private, quiet wins that have prepared you for the moments ahead when your courage will be needed in the open. According to what is revealed in the book of Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 12, "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms." And this scripture reminds you that the heaviness you've felt has not been without cause. Your resistance has been against something real. And every time you held your ground, You were pushing back spiritual darkness. Chosen one. Those unseen victories matter more than you know. You may feel like no one noticed the battles you fought, but heaven noticed. Every time you chose to pray instead of give in to despair. Every time you forgave instead of holding a grudge. Every time you worshipped in the middle of the storm, you were striking blows against the enemy's plans. You didn't win every fight instantly. There were times you fell, but even in those moments, you rose again. You discovered that falling isn't failure when you get back up stronger. And that persistence, that refusal to surrender, is one of the reasons you are such a threat to the kingdom of darkness. There's another layer to these battles that most people overlook. They weren't just about your survival, they were about your preparation. The endurance you built in the shadows will soon be the strength others lean on in the light. When you step into the assignments God has for you, you will not be easily shaken, because you've already faced the kind of pressure that would break most people. And this is why I need to say something from my heart. If this message is finding you in that place of quiet warfare, I want you to know you are not alone. These words are not here by accident. They are a reminder that what you are going through has meaning, that your pain has purpose, and that your perseverance is producing something eternal. I also want to say this: if these words have met you right where you are, if you feel like this is speaking directly to your situation, then I want to invite you, genuinely, not out of routine, to stay connected. When you like, share, or subscribe, it's not just about numbers, it's about building a space where chosen ones like you can keep being reminded of the truth. Heaven is speaking. It's about making sure you have a place to return to when the battles feel heavy. So yes, if you believe this is part of what God is using to keep you strong, I'd be honored for you to share it with someone else who might be fighting silently right now. Click that subscribe button so you won't miss the encouragement and direction that could meet you right at your next crossroads. And like this message, if it resonates, not for me, but as a way of saying, I'm still here. I'm still standing. Your journey is proof that the fiercest battles often produce the strongest warriors, and you, chosen one, are one of them. Keep your eyes open, because the same God who saw you in the shadows is about to place you in positions where your testimony will light the way for others. There is a reason comfort has always slipped through your fingers. Every time you tried to settle into a place of ease, something would happen to unsettle you. Just when you thought you had found a space to rest, circumstances would shift. Relationships would change. Jobs would close. Doors would lock. And each time, you felt the sting of disappointment, wondering why you couldn't just stay where life felt safe. But, chosen one, the truth is this: God never designed you to build your home in a place that could not hold your crown. Comfort, in the wrong season, can become a trap. It can keep you in surroundings too small for the destiny you carry. You may think of those lost comforts as moments of failure, but in reality, they were divine disruptions, carefully orchestrated to keep you moving forward. It's not that God doesn't want you to have peace or joy. He absolutely does, but He refuses to let you find them in places beneath your calling. Sometimes, when you won't move, He will shake the ground beneath your feet until you do. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Isaiah, chapter 43, verse 19. Say, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland. Now, you see, God will sometimes allow discomfort so that your eyes can open to the new path He is creating for you. The pain of leaving is often the sign that something greater is being prepared. Think about it. If you had stayed in every place that felt comfortable, you would not have discovered the strength, vision, and faith you have now. The shaking you've experienced has not been random. It has been strategic. Every ending has been an invitation to step into a new beginning. This is also why some relationships ended when they did. You may have thought they were essential to your journey, but God knew they could not go with you into the next season. If He had let them remain, they would have slowed your pace, diluted your vision, or pulled you off course entirely. And yes, I know the transitions have hurt. You've had to leave behind more than you wanted to. You've had to walk away without full explanations. You've had to trust that God's silence in those moments was not abandonment, but protection. The enemy wanted you to believe those seasons were losses. In reality, they were strategic withdrawals to keep your spirit safe. When you look back, you can see it more clearly now. The very moments you thought would break you actually built you. You learned how to walk into the unknown with faith. You discovered that you could survive without the things you thought you needed. You realized that comfort is temporary, but calling is eternal. This is why I am telling you today, stop mourning the places God has removed you from. Stop replaying the what-if scenarios in your mind. The same hand that took you out is the same hand that will lead you into the greater. And right now, I want you to do something symbolic. Type 888 inch the comments. This is not just a number, it represents new beginnings, divine cycles, and God's promise to complete what He started in you. When you write it, you are making a declaration in the Spirit that you are ready to release what has passed and step boldly into what is coming. When you type it, you are not only telling heaven, I trust you, but you are also telling your own soul, I refuse to be anchored to places I've outgrown. It's a prophetic act, a sign to the unseen realm that you will not chase false comfort when God is leading you toward true fulfillment. Chosen one, the road ahead will not always feel easy, but it will always be worth it. The absence of comfort is not the absence of God. It is often the sign that He is closer than ever, preparing you for a stretch of the journey that will require your full attention. So, lift your head. Let the shaking do its work. You are not being uprooted for nothing. You are being planted in richer soil. You have felt it for as long as you can remember, the silent pull towards something higher. It's not always loud. Sometimes it's just a quiet stirring in your spirit, a sense that there's more to your life than what you see. You can be in the middle of ordinary routines, and suddenly, without warning, you feel that nudge. It could be a thought, a dream, or a sudden shift in perspective, but it always points you upward, away from the distractions of the moment. This pull is not random. It is the work of the Spirit guiding you toward your appointed path. While others can live without questioning their purpose, you cannot. While they can be content in circles that drain them, you feel an inner unrest when you're not aligned with your calling. You might have tried to ignore it at times, telling yourself to just be normal, but it always returns persistent, unrelenting, like the tide that always comes back to the shore. The Word of God declares in the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 6, "In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your paths straight." This pull you feel is heaven's way of keeping your steps aligned with the path that has been marked out for you since before you were born. It doesn't always come in the form of clear instructions. Sometimes it's the closing of a door that felt perfect. Sometimes it's the sudden end of an opportunity you prayed for. Sometimes it's simply the loss of peace in a situation that once felt right. All of these are ways heaven redirects you, not to deprive you, but to deliver you into something far greater than what you could have imagined on your own. Each redirection is a safeguard, a loving detour from roads that would have led to lesser destinies. If you've walked with God long enough, you've probably noticed this pattern. The moments you resisted the pull were often followed by seasons of unnecessary struggle, but the moments you obeyed, even when it didn't make sense, led to breakthroughs you could never have planned. The pull is not meant to frustrate you, it is meant to save you time, protect your steps, and position you for what's next. It is also the reason you often feel out of step with the people around you. While they are chasing what looks good, you are chasing what feels right in your spirit. While they are making decisions based solely on logic, you are learning to make decisions based on alignment with God's voice. This doesn't mean you are better than anyone else. It simply means your compass is different. You are not navigating by the same map the world uses. You are following a route charted by heaven, and sometimes that means taking the long, winding way instead of the short, easy road. The higher road is rarely the most comfortable one. It often requires letting go of things you want in order to receive what you need. It asks you to trust God when the details are unclear. It pulls you away from the noise so you can hear the whispers, and it will never allow you to settle for less than what was promised over your life. This is why, even in moments when you tried to run from your calling, you could not outrun it. The higher road will always find you. You can try to distract yourself, to drown it out, to pretend you don't hear it, but eventually you will feel that stirring again, and every time it returns, it will be stronger than before. The challenge is that this road can feel lonely. It's not heavily crowded, because it demands more than most people are willing to give. But the beauty of the higher road is that you never walk it alone. Even when the path feels empty, the presence of God is constant. Even when your questions go unanswered, His guidance never fails. Chosen one. This pull towards something greater is the proof that you were not made for a life of survival alone. You were created for significance. You were crafted to leave a mark, to carry light into places where darkness has reigned for too long. The pull is not trying to take from you, it is trying to reveal you. So when it comes again, don't resist it. Lean into it. Trust it. It may lead you through unfamiliar territory, but it will never lead you astray. The higher road always leads home. Isolation has been one of your greatest teachers. There have been seasons when no one seemed to understand you, when the people you thought would walk beside you drifted away, and when even the places that once felt familiar began to feel foreign. At first, it felt like punishment, like you were being pushed aside. But as the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, you began to realize this was not rejection. This was refinement. Heaven often does its deepest work in hidden places. When God sets someone apart, He will sometimes draw them away from the noise, the constant opinions, and the endless distractions. Isolation is not about removing you from people, it's about removing you from influences that could distort your calling. In those hidden seasons, He is not wasting time, He is shaping destiny. Every quiet hour becomes a chiseling of your character. Every unnoticed day, a strengthening of your spirit. What feels like delay is often divine acceleration in disguise. preparing you for doors you could not yet handle. It was in those quiet, lonely moments that you began to hear God more clearly. Without the constant chatter of the crowd, you could finally recognize His voice. Without the busyness of trying to keep up with everyone else, you began to notice the small ways He had been guiding you all along. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Hosea, chapter 2, verse 14. Therefore I am now going to allure her. I will lead her into the wilderness and speak tenderly to her. This verse reveals the truth about your isolation. It is not abandonment, it is an invitation. The wilderness is where God whispers things to you that cannot be heard in the marketplace. You may not have liked the loneliness, but if you look back, you will see that it was during those times you received clarity. You were able to confront parts of yourself that were being overlooked in the rush of life. You were able to heal from wounds that needed more than quick fixes. And you began to develop the strength to stand alone if necessary. It was in these moments that your spirit learned to breathe without relying on the applause of others. You discovered that your worth was not tied to being seen, but to being known by God. The solitude stripped away false identities and revealed the unshakable core of who you are, preparing you for influence that cannot be corrupted by human opinion. Isolation also revealed who was truly for you. When you were no longer convenient to be around, when you couldn't offer what you once did, certain people faded away. At first, it hurt, but later, you realized it was God's way of pruning your relationships so that the right ones could grow in the right season. This refining process also built something else in you: spiritual independence. You learned that your faith could not be carried on the backs of others. You discovered that you could hear from God directly, without needing constant validation from people. This doesn't mean you stopped valuing wise counsel. It means you stopped depending on it more than on God's voice. The wilderness seasons have another hidden gift: preparation. History shows us that before great assignments, God often leads His chosen ones into seclusion. Moses spent years in the desert before leading Israel. David spent time in the fields before becoming king. Even Jesus withdrew to solitary places to pray. You are in good company. And while the isolation may have felt long, it was never without purpose. Every quiet morning, every tearful prayer, every night you spent searching for meaning, it was all adding layers to your character that could not be built in the spotlight. So if you are in that season now, do not despise it. The silence is not empty. It is full of God's shaping power. The absence of people is not the absence of destiny. It is the clearing of the stage for what's next. When the time is right, the same God who led you into the wilderness will lead you out. But you will not leave the same. You will walk out with clearer vision, stronger faith, and a deeper understanding of who you are and who He is. Chosen one. Isolation has been your cocoon, and soon, the wings you have been growing in the hidden place will carry you into the assignments you have been prepared for all along. Your deepest wounds have not been wasted. Every scar you carry tells a story, not just of pain, but of survival, transformation, and victory. These moments you thought would destroy you became the very battles that forged your strength. And now, chosen one, those wounds have become weapons in your hands. There was a time when you saw them only as weaknesses. You tried to hide them, cover them, or pretend they weren't there. You may have even believed the lie that you were disqualified because of them. But God never saw your wounds as disqualifications. He saw them as qualifications. They made you real. They made you compassionate. They gave you eyes to see the hurt in others because you had once felt it yourself. The Spirit spoke through the Apostle Paul in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 12, verse 9. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Your wounds are not proof of failure. They are proof that grace has been at work. Every place the enemy tried to break you has become a testimony of God's ability to restore you. Think about the moments you thought you couldn't recover from. The betrayal that left you empty. The loss that left you numb. The failure that left you ashamed. You thought those would be the end of your story. But look at you now. You are still standing. And not just standing, but stronger, wiser, and more anchored than before. You didn't just walk away from those seasons. You emerged, carrying treasures only the fire could forge. Perspective you never had before. Strength you didn't know you possessed. Faith that no storm can uproot. Those moments tried to bury you, but instead, they planted the seeds of the unshakable you. Now, when you see others facing their breaking points, you recognize the look in their eyes. You remember that ache, that silence, that desperate prayer, and something in you rises not in pity, but in power, because you know what it's like to stand where they are and still make it through. The very places you once avoided talking about are now the places God will use to help others. The pain that used to make you cry now gives you language to comfort someone else. The nights you thought would never end have made you a carrier of hope for those still walking through their darkness. This is why the enemy has fought so hard to keep you silent about your story. He knows that your testimony is dangerous to him. When you speak about how God carried you through, it breaks the chains off someone else's life. When you reveal the scars and tell the truth about the healing, it reminds others that they, too, can survive. Chosen one. You may not realize it, but you are armed. Your experiences have given you weapons that cannot be taken from you. Your endurance is a weapon. Your compassion is a weapon. Your refusal to give up is a weapon. And your story told without shame is one of the most powerful weapons you carry. You see, light does not just destroy darkness, it exposes it. And every time you shine light on what you've been through, you expose the lies the enemy told you in that season. Lies that said you were done, forgotten, or worthless. Lies that told you God had left you. Lies that tried to convince you that you would never heal. But you did heal, and you are still healing. And that process has not made you weaker, it has made you unstoppable. So here's what I want you to do. Right now, type "I survived" in the comments. Not because you're trying to be dramatic, but because it's the truth. When you write it, you're not just making a statement, you're planting a flag. You're declaring to yourself, to heaven, and to every shadow that ever tried to consume you, I made it through. I am still here. I am still chosen. And here's the thing, you didn't just survive for yourself. You survived so that others could see what survival looks like. You survived so that your life could become a living prophecy of hope. You survived so that the enemy would have to watch you step into everything he tried to steal from you. Your wounds have become proof of God's faithfulness. They remind you of where you've been, but they also point to where you're going. They are not the end of your story. They are the ink God is using to write the next chapter. So carry them boldly. Let them speak. Let them shine. Because every healed wound in your life is now a weapon in the war for someone else's freedom. There is something that happens when your spiritual senses awaken. You start to notice things others overlook. You can walk into a room and feel the atmosphere before a single word is spoken. You can meet someone and sense the weight they are carrying, even when their smile hides it well. You can discern when something is off, even if it looks perfect on the outside. This gift is not a burden, it's a form of divine radar. It's heaven's way of positioning you to respond, to intercede, and to protect what's around you. While others may rely only on what they see and hear, you are being guided by what you perceive in the spirit. That's why certain places drain you for no obvious reason, and why certain people feel like they've been in your life forever, even if you just met them. The voice of God thundered in the book of Hebrews, chapter 5, verse 14. But solid food is for the mature, who by constant use have trained themselves to distinguish good from evil. This is what your life has been doing, training you. Every encounter, every shift, every lesson has been sharpening your discernment so you can recognize what others miss. But with this gift comes responsibility. You can't unsee what God shows you. You can't unknow what your spirit discerns. And sometimes you must act on information others would dismiss. It might mean leaving an environment that feels wrong, even though everything looks fine. It might mean speaking truth when silence would be easier. It might mean standing between someone and danger they don't even know is there. This gift has probably saved you more times than you realize. It's why certain opportunities that seemed perfect never sat right in your spirit. It's why some relationships you thought you wanted were suddenly removed from your life. It's why doors you almost forced open ended up staying closed, and later you discovered they were traps. Discernment is a shield, and heaven has been teaching you to wield it well. It is not given so you can judge people harshly, but so you can guard your heart, walk wisely, and help others when the moment comes. And in this world where deception often wears a smile, your gift is priceless. The enemy's tactics are subtle. He hides in the harmless, disguises his attacks as opportunities, and wraps danger in beauty. But with the radar God has given you, you can spot his fingerprints before his plan unfolds. The challenge, of course, is that not everyone will understand your decisions when you act on discernment. They may call you overly cautious, suspicious, or even paranoid, but you know better. You know that following the Spirit's leading has saved you from storms others walked straight into. Chosen one. Never apologize for being alert. Never dull your senses to make others comfortable. The very gift they question now may be the one they thank you for later. If you feel this truth resonating deeply right now, if you can look back and see the countless times God's guidance has spared you, then I want to ask you to do something simple but powerful. Like this message so it stays with you. Share it with someone you care about so they can start recognizing their own divine radar. And subscribe so these reminders keep finding you at the exact time you need them. This is not about algorithms or numbers. It's about staying connected to the flow of encouragement, direction, and truth that keeps your spirit sharp. When you engage, you're building a habit of feeding your discernment, keeping your heart tuned to heaven's frequency. Remember, discernment grows with use. The more you listen, the clearer it becomes. The more you obey, the more precise it gets. And the more you walk in it, the safer you and those connected to you will be. In the days ahead, you will be placed in situations where your discernment will not just be for you, it will be for the protection of others. You will see dangers they cannot see and opportunities they would otherwise miss. And because you've been faithful in the small, You will be trusted with the greater, so keep your spirit awake. Pay attention to the whispers. Notice the shifts in the atmosphere. You are not just surviving this life, you are navigating it with heaven's map in your hands. There comes a moment in every chosen one's life when the fog begins to lift and the pieces of the puzzle start to fit together. What once felt random suddenly shows its pattern. The places you have been, the people you have met, the battles you have faced, all of it starts to align in a way you could never have orchestrated yourself. This is when you begin to see your assignment unfold, not as a vague dream in the distance, but as a living, breathing reality, taking shape before your eyes. You start recognizing the threads of divine strategy running through your past. That job you thought was meaningless gave you the skills you now need. That conversation you barely remember planted a seed that is now blooming. Even the seasons of pain, which you once wished away, now stand as pillars of strength in your foundation. The Apostle reminds us in his letter to the Romans, chapter 8, verse 28, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." You are not stumbling through life. You are walking a path that was marked before you ever took your first step. When your assignment begins to reveal itself, there is a shift in your perspective. You start to understand why certain doors had to stay shut and why some roads had to remain untraveled. You realize that your life has not been about random survival. It has been a journey of precision. Every delay was a positioning. Every detour was a protection. You begin to see that nothing was wasted, not the tears, not the waiting, not the nights you questioned everything. Each season, whether joyful or painful, was a brushstroke in the masterpiece God is painting. What once felt like loss now reveals itself as the careful shaping of destiny. The clarity doesn't always come all at once. Often, God reveals your assignment in stages, giving you just enough light for the step you're on. This keeps you dependent on him, not your own understanding. It is not about seeing the entire map. It is about trusting the one who holds it. At first, this can be frustrating. You want the full plan, but he gives you the next step. Yet over time, you begin to see the wisdom in it. If he had shown you everything at once, you might have run ahead of him or been overwhelmed by the magnitude of it all. The gradual unveiling is his mercy. As the picture becomes clearer, you will also notice that certain people are drawn into your life while others quietly fade away. This is not coincidence. God aligns you with those who are meant to walk with you in this season of your assignment. Some will encourage you, others will challenge you, and a few will sharpen your vision in ways you didn't know you needed. You may also feel an increase in resistance as your assignment comes into focus. The enemy takes notice. But this opposition is not a sign to retreat. It's a confirmation that you are on the right track. Resistance often means you are moving into territory that matters. The weight of the assignment can be intimidating. You may look at yourself and wonder how you will manage it, how you will have the strength or wisdom for what lies ahead. But remember, God does not call the qualified. He qualifies the called. The same grace that carried you through preparation will carry you through execution. Your assignment is not just about what you do, it's about who you become while doing it. It's about the character that is formed in the process, the faith that grows through the journey, and the love that deepens as you serve. The work you are called to is important, but the person you are becoming in Christ is the true masterpiece. In this unfolding season, Be attentive to the small confirmations. A conversation that echoes what you've been sensing. A scripture that appears at the exact moment you need it. An unexpected opportunity that fits perfectly into the direction you've been praying about. These are the gentle fingerprints of God, reassuring you that you are exactly where you are meant to be. Chosen one. The assignment is not ahead of you. It has already begun. You are living it right now. Step by step. Choice by choice. The question is not whether you are ready. It is whether you will keep walking in the direction you have been shown, trusting that each step is leading you deeper into the very reason you were placed here on earth. There is always a cost to walking in your calling. It is not the path of ease, but the path of surrender. The moment you said yes to God, whether with words or simply by refusing to give up, you agreed to carry a weight that not everyone is willing to bear. And with that, yes, came a separation, a refining, and a testing that others may never understand. Sometimes the cost looks like letting go of relationships you thought would last forever. Sometimes it's walking away from opportunities that seemed promising, but didn't align with your spirit. Sometimes it's giving up comfort so you can pursue obedience. It may even mean standing alone in rooms where everyone else seems to be walking in the opposite direction. And in those moments, the loneliness can press in, making you question your choices. Yet, deep down, there's a knowing, a quiet assurance that you are exactly where you are meant to be. For it is in these costly decisions that your faith is proven genuine, and your steps align more deeply with heaven's path for you. The ancient words recorded in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 16, verse 24 still echo today. Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. End of. The cross you carry is not a punishment. It is the sign that you are entrusted with purpose. And while it is heavy, it is also holy. Carrying this cost changes you. It strips away the parts of you that cannot survive the weight of your calling. It teaches you to rely on God in ways you never imagined. It shows you that His presence is worth more than the applause of the crowd or the comfort of the familiar. There will be days when the cost feels higher than you expected. Days when you wonder if it would be easier to lay it all down and live like everyone else. But deep in your spirit, you know you cannot go back. You have seen too much, heard too much, and experienced too much of God's faithfulness to turn away now. This journey is not without its rewards. The very sacrifices you make now are planting seeds for a harvest you cannot yet see. The prayers you pray in secret are shaping futures yours and those connected to you. The moments you choose obedience over convenience are building a legacy that will outlive you. Still, the cost is real, and there is no shame in admitting that it can feel heavy. Even Jesus, in His final hours, acknowledged the weight of His assignment in the Garden of Gethsemane, but He also showed us what to do with that weight, bring it to the Father, and then rise to walk in obedience. Chosen one, you are not carrying your cross in vain. Every step is counted. Every tear is stored. Every act of obedience, even when it feels small, is part of something far greater than you realize. If you are feeling the weight of your calling in this season, I want you to take a step of faith right now. Type 444 inch. The comments. This is not just a number, it is a prophetic reminder that God's presence, protection, and perfect order are surrounding you. When you write it, you are agreeing with heaven that you will carry what has been entrusted to you, knowing you are never carrying it alone. That number becomes more than digits on a screen. It becomes your declaration. I accept the cost, because I know the reward. It becomes your reminder on the hard days that you are aligned with something eternal, something unshakable, and it becomes your quiet way of saying, "Yes, Lord," again and again. Endrin, this cost will change you. It will make you more compassionate toward those who are also carrying their own unseen burdens. It will make you wiser, because you have learned to weigh your decisions against eternity, not just the moment. And it will make you stronger, because every step taken under the weight of obedience builds spiritual muscle. So do not despise the cost. Do not wish it away. One day, you will stand in the place God has been leading you to, and you will understand why the road had to be narrow, why the refining had to be intense, and why the price had to be paid. And in that moment, you will see that nothing was lost. Everything was invested. Not every enemy comes with a sword in their hand. Some come with a smile on their face and words that sound like encouragement. Some wear the mask of friendship, while quietly planting seeds of doubt or distraction. One of the greatest skills you develop as a chosen one is learning to recognize the hidden saboteurs, those who may not openly oppose you, but whose presence slowly pulls you away from your purpose. The Book of Proverbs, chapter 27, verse 6, says, "Wounds from a friend can be trusted, but an enemy multiplies kisses." Oh, not every kind word comes from a kind heart, and not every critic is against you. The challenge is learning to discern which is which. You've likely already experienced it. People who were with you when you were struggling, but became distant when you started to rise. People who clapped for your dreams as long as those dreams didn't surpass theirs. People who claimed to support you but subtly undermined your confidence with carefully chosen words. These hidden enemies are dangerous because they operate in subtlety. They rarely confront you directly. Instead, they aim to plant small doubts that grow over time. They might question your ability just enough to make you second-guess yourself. They might bring constant distraction, so you never focus fully on what matters. Or they might feed you comfort when what you need is challenge, keeping you from stepping into your next level. Recognizing them does not mean becoming suspicious of everyone. It means paying attention to patterns. Who celebrates your growth without jealousy? Who gives you truth even when it's uncomfortable? Who remains consistent regardless of your season? These are markers of genuine allies. God allows these hidden saboteurs to cross your path for a reason. Sometimes, their presence exposes areas of your own heart that need strengthening. Other times, they are there to sharpen your discernment. You learn to listen not just to words, but to the spirit behind them. You may wonder why God doesn't simply remove these people the moment they appear, but often, He allows them to remain for a season because they push you toward greater maturity. They force you to anchor your identity in Him rather than in the approval of people. They remind you to guard your assignment carefully and not place it in just anyone's hands. It's also important to remember that not every saboteur is malicious. Some are simply not equipped to understand your calling, and their advice, though well-intentioned, can still pull you off course. This is why constant prayer for wisdom is essential, so that you respond with both truth and grace. Avoiding bitterness while still protecting what God has entrusted to you. And sometimes, the hidden enemy is not a person at all, it's a thought pattern, a habit, or a fear that operates quietly in the background. It's the voice that tells you to procrastinate just one more day. the distraction that consumes your energy without producing fruit, or the insecurity that keeps you from stepping forward. These internal saboteurs can be even harder to detect than the external ones, because they feel familiar. But just as you must evaluate relationships for their fruit, you must also evaluate your own thoughts and habits. Ask yourself, does this lead me closer to my purpose? Or does it keep me stuck? Does this voice align with God's truth? Or does it contradict it? The good news is, every saboteur, whether external or internal, loses power when exposed to the light. Awareness is the first step to freedom. When you can name the source of distraction or doubt, you can confront it with the truth. And once confronted, it can no longer operate in the shadows. Chosen one, you are not called to live in fear of hidden enemies. You are called to walk in wisdom and authority. As you continue on your path, your discernment will sharpen, your boundaries will strengthen, and your focus will become unshakable. Those who are truly for you will remain, and those who cannot walk at your pace will fade away. In the end, even the presence of enemies, hidden or obvious, cannot stop what God has ordained for you. They may delay, distract, or discourage for a moment, but they cannot destroy what heaven has established. And as you learn to recognize and overcome them, you will find that what once felt like opposition has become part of your preparation for greater things. Your difference, the very thing you once tried to hide, will one day be the reason others follow you. The mantle of influence on your life is not about titles, fame, or recognition. It is about the weight of responsibility you carry for the sake of others. Influence in the kingdom is not measured by how many people know your name, but by how many lives are transformed because you walked in obedience. From the outside, influence can look glamorous. People see the visible results, but rarely understand the invisible cost. They don't see the hours spent in prayer, the tears shed for people who may never know your name, or the sacrifices made in secret. Yet it is precisely these unseen investments that make your influence unshakable. It is in those hidden hours, when no one is applauding and no one is watching, that the deepest roots are formed. What grows in secret will stand in the storm, because it was nourished away from the eyes of the crowd. In the soil of surrender and faithfulness, we are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms. Chapter 75, verse 6 and 7. No one from the east or the west or from the desert can exalt themselves. It is God who judges. He brings one down. He exalts another. True influence does not come from striving. It comes from being positioned by God in His perfect timing. And timing is everything. Many are eager to step into influence before their foundation is ready. But God knows that influence without character will collapse under pressure. This is why your journey has included seasons of waiting, pruning, and refining. He was not withholding the mantle from you. He was ensuring you could carry it without it crushing you. As influence begins to grow, it will test your heart. People may project expectations onto you that you never asked for. Some will admire you, others will criticize you, and a few will try to control you. Influence will require you to stay rooted in the truth of who you are in God, so that the shifting opinions of people do not sway you. With influence also comes the temptation to dilute your message so it is more widely accepted. But remember, God didn't call you to echo the world. He called you to carry His voice. And His voice is not always comfortable, but it is always life-giving. Your role is not to please the crowd, but to be faithful to the one who entrusted you with this platform. Your influence may not look like the world's definition of leadership. It could be the way you speak life into someone on the verge of giving up. It could be the way you mentor a single person who will go on to impact thousands. It could be the way you quietly model integrity in an environment where compromise is the norm. Influence in the kingdom often works in ways the world overlooks. The enemy will try to distort this mantle, tempting you to believe it is about self-promotion or personal gain. But true influence flows from humility. It's knowing you are merely a vessel, and that the power to change lives comes from God alone. The moment influence becomes about you, it begins to lose its eternal value. Guarding your influence will mean guarding your heart. It will mean saying no to opportunities that look good but are not aligned with your calling. It will mean surrounding yourself with people who speak truth, even when it's hard to hear. And it will mean staying teachable. No matter how much you grow, your influence will also attract those who are searching for direction. Some will come because they sense the light in you. Others will come because they want the results without the process. Discernment will be key in knowing whom to invest deeply in and whom to release. As you step further into this mantle, remember that it is not sustained by talent, charisma, or human effort. It is sustained by intimacy with God. When the weight feels heavy, your refuge will be in His presence. When the path feels unclear, His voice will be your compass. Chosen one. The influence you carry is not an accident. It is the result of every hidden battle, every quiet act of obedience, and every moment you chose faith over fear. It has been entrusted to you for such a time as this, and it will continue to grow. Not so your name is remembered, but so His name is glorified through your life. There is a reason you've been placed where you are, in the generation you live in, surrounded by the people you know. It is not random, it is a divine assignment. And part of that assignment is learning to stand in the gap for others, to intercede where few dare to stand, to become the bridge between heaven's mercy and earth's need. Standing in the gap is not just about prayer, it's about positioning yourself in such a way that you become a living answer to someone else's cry. Sometimes that means you pray when they cannot pray for themselves. Sometimes it means you speak truth into their confusion. Other times, it's your very presence, your steadfastness, that holds them together when their world feels like it's falling apart. We are reminded in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 22, verse 30, I looked for someone among them who would build up the wall and stand before me in the gap on behalf of the land. But I found no one. In a world where many are too busy or too distracted to carry this responsibility, you have been chosen to be that someone. This is why your life has been marked by situations that taught you to endure, to see beyond yourself, and to love with a strength that comes only from God. Standing in the gap requires a heart that will not give up easily. It means absorbing pressure so that others can have a chance to heal. It means carrying weight in the spirit so that breakthrough can happen in the natural. Sometimes the people you stand for will never know the battles you fought for them. They may never thank you. They may even misunderstand you. But heaven sees. Every time you intercede, every time you fast, every time you stay awake, praying while others sleep, your work is recorded, and its impact echoes beyond what you can measure. The enemy fears people who will stand in the gap because they block his plans before they manifest. They stop destruction before it takes root. They pull people back from the edge before they fall. You may never know the disasters that were averted because you obeyed the nudge to pray, speak, or act. But one day you will. And here's the truth. This role is not easy. Standing in the gap means feeling the weight of situations that are not even yours to carry. It means sacrificing your own comfort to fight for someone else's freedom. It means keeping your heart tender in a world that often grows cold. But, chosen one, the reward is eternal. To be trusted with this role is one of heaven's highest honors, and if you have been entrusted with it, it means heaven has found in you what it could not find in many a willing vessel. That is why I want to pause here and say this. If you know this is your calling, if you know you have been placed as a watchman, a prayer warrior, a voice of truth in your circle, do not take it lightly. Let this reminder sink in and strengthen you. And if these words are speaking to you right now, I'd like to ask something simple, like this message, so it remains in your heart's reach when you need it again. Share it with someone you know who carries a similar mantle, so they can be encouraged to keep going. And subscribe so you can continue to receive messages that pour into your spirit exactly when you need them. Engaging with this message is not just about connection, it's about creating a space where people like you, who stand in the gap, are reminded they are not alone. It's about building a community of intercessors, warriors, and kingdom builders who lift one another up. If you've ever felt unseen in this role, let me remind you, heaven sees every moment. You are not just surviving in this calling, you are thriving in it. Because the strength you draw from is not your own. The one who placed you here is the one who will sustain you here. So stand firm, stand prayerful, stand ready. There will be days when the gap feels wide and the battle feels fierce. But remember, you are not holding it alone. You are part of a chain, linked with others across the world. And together, you form the wall that darkness cannot break through. Your willingness to stand may be the very reason someone else makes it through their darkest night. Never underestimate the power of your obedience, your presence, and your prayer. This is why you are here. Every crown in the kingdom comes with a cross. The glory of being chosen is inseparable from the weight of what must be carried to reach it. Many see the crown and long for it, but they do not see the road of sacrifice that leads there. You, however, have walked that road, and you know its cost. The cross is not simply the challenges life throws your way, it is the deliberate choice to embrace obedience even when it hurts. It is the decision to say yes to God's will when your flesh wants to run in the opposite direction. It is laying down your own plans, not because they were bad, but because His are better. It means surrendering timelines you carefully built, releasing dreams you held tightly, and trusting that what He replaces them with will exceed anything you could have imagined. It is not passive resignation, it is active faith, a daily declaration that His ways are higher, His wisdom deeper, and His love unshakable. The Apostle Paul wrote in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 17, "For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us en éternelle glory that far outweighs them all. The weight of the cross is temporary, but the crown that follows is eternal, and it is in this tension between the heaviness of now and the promise of what's coming that your faith is being refined. Every trial you've endured has been shaping your ability to carry glory without being crushed by it. The crown is not merely a symbol of victory, it is a symbol of stewardship. God does not place it on the head of someone who has not been tested, because influence without depth cannot last. Tests carve out the space in your soul to hold the weight of destiny. Without them, the crown would feel like a burden instead of an honor. It is in the hidden struggles, the unseen wrestlings, and the quiet endurance that your spirit is fortified, ensuring you can wear what God gives without it toppling you. The cross also teaches you compassion. When you have been through seasons of suffering, you are able to look into the eyes of another and truly understand their pain. You can speak life into broken places because you have known what it is to be broken. You can point to hope with conviction because you have clung to it yourself. Carrying the cross strips away pride. It humbles you, not in a way that crushes your worth, but in a way that reminds you every victory belongs to Him. It teaches you to depend on His strength, not your own, and to recognize that every step forward is a gift of grace. But there is also joy in the cross, not in the pain itself, but in the closeness to God it brings. Some of your most intimate moments with Him have come when you were carrying the heaviest load. In those seasons, you discovered that His presence truly is enough, that even without the answers, without the breakthrough, His nearness is life. And then comes the crown. It may not be visible to the world right away, but it rests on you nonetheless. It shows in the way you carry yourself, in the peace that cannot be shaken, in the authority that comes from walking with God through fire and coming out without the smell of smoke. The crown does not remove the memory of the cross, it redeems it. Every tear becomes part of your testimony. Every loss becomes part of your legacy. Every scar becomes a mark of your survival and His faithfulness. There will always be those who want the crown without the cross, but the two cannot be separated. The path to glory is paved with surrender, and it is only those who endure that road who can wear the crown well. Chosen one. Your life is a living picture of this truth. You have carried burdens that would have broken others, yet you are still here. You have faced losses that could have ended your faith, yet it has grown stronger. And now, whether you realize it or not, you are already wearing the first glimmers of that crown, shaped by perseverance, polished by humility, and secured by love. The journey is not over. There will be more to carry, more to lay down, and more to pick up. But every step forward brings you closer to the fullness of the promise, and one day you will stand before the one who called you, and He will place in your hands the crown that can never fade, saying, "Well done, Len." There comes a moment when the preparation ends, when the refining has done its work, and when the identity you have been carrying in pieces finally comes together in full. This is the moment of heaven's final seal, the confirmation that you are stepping into the fullness of who you were always meant to be. It is not an arrival point where the journey stops, but a commissioning into the next chapter of your calling. The seal is not always visible to others, but it is undeniable to you. It comes with a deep inner knowing, a quiet confidence that no longer needs external validation. You no longer wrestle with the old question, "Am I really chosen?" Because every battle, every miracle, and every moment of grace has answered it for you. We find in the book of Revelation, chapter 3, verse 8, "I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut. I know that you have little strength, yet you have kept my word and have not denied my name. No, This is the essence of the seal, God's public declaration in the spiritual realm that what He has opened for you cannot be closed by any force of darkness. When the seal comes, it is more than a feeling. You begin to see undeniable confirmations in your life, opportunities aligning without you forcing them, relationships appearing at just the right time, and even challenges that reveal strengths you didn't know you had. The same situations that once made you doubt yourself now only affirm your authority. This seal is also a mark of protection. It does not mean life will be free from battles, but it does mean that every battle is fought from a place of victory. It is a reminder to the enemy that you are off limits in ways you once weren't, because heaven has marked you for specific assignments. With the seal comes an unshakable sense of purpose. You no longer chase every open door, because you have learned to recognize which ones are meant for you. You no longer seek to prove yourself to those who doubt you, because you understand that their approval has no bearing on your destiny. You no longer live reacting to circumstances, but responding to the voice of the one who sealed you. It is important to understand that this seal is not a reward for perfection. It is an affirmation of faithfulness, faithfulness in the hidden places, faithfulness when the outcome was uncertain, faithfulness when obedience cost you something. Many people want the seal, but few are willing to endure the process that leads to it. You have endured, and now you walk with a weight of authority that cannot be faked or imitated. The seal also carries responsibility. It is not a decoration to display, it is a commission to fulfill. It means that the words you speak carry weight in the spirit, that your prayers move things in unseen realms, and that your presence shifts the atmosphere. It is a trust placed on your life that calls you to walk in integrity, humility, and courage. You will notice that the seal does not remove your humanity. You will still have moments of weakness, still feel the sting of disappointment, and still face temptations. But the difference now is that you know where your strength comes from, and you know how to return to the source without delay. The final seal does not mean the end of growth. It means you have reached a maturity where growth is no longer just about you. Everything you learn from here forward will be for the sake of those you are called to lead, influence, and protect. The focus shifts from survival to multiplication, from being carried to carrying others. And perhaps most significantly, the seal shifts your vision. You begin to see not just what is, but what could be. You are no longer limited by the immediate or the visible. You understand that every step you take is part of a much larger tapestry. God is weaving a tapestry that began before you were born and will continue beyond your lifetime. Chosen one. Heaven's final seal is not the end of your story. It is the turning of a page into chapters filled with greater assignments, deeper intimacy with God, and wider influence than you have ever known. It is the moment your preparation becomes power, your survival becomes testimony, and your calling becomes undeniable. And from this point forward, you walk not as one searching for confirmation, but as one carrying it. Chosen one. You have walked through every stage of this journey, marked from birth, refined in the hidden places, strengthened by battles, and now sealed with heaven's confirmation. Your story is not just a testimony of survival, it is a living declaration of God's faithfulness, wisdom, and power at work in you. Every chapter you've lived has prepared you for the influence you now carry. Every scar has become a weapon, every delay a setup, and every loss a divine exchange for something greater. The road was not easy, but it was holy. And now, you stand in a place where your presence can shift atmospheres, your words can break chains, and your prayers can change destinies. But this journey is not meant to be walked alone. Others need the light you carry, the hope you've found, and the truth you now live. That's why I'm asking you genuinely, from my heart, to help spread this message, like this, so it stays close when you need to hear it again. Share it with someone who is in the middle of their own refining, so they know they are not forgotten. And subscribe, so you remain connected to a steady stream of reminders, encouragement, and prophetic direction when the next season arrives. Also, leave a comment below, tell your story in just a few words, or simply write what this message stirred in your heart. You never know who will read your words and find the strength to keep going. Your voice matters, your agreement matters, and your obedience matters. Chosen one, you were never meant to blend in. You were meant to shine. And as you step forward from here, remember, you do not walk alone. Heaven walks with you, and the seal over your life cannot be broken.